Once we get the mark right here that you have to actually see your scribe mark, then what we're going to do is we're going to use a combination square to make sure we've got a good measurement. On the combination square, you will see these large numbers right here. These numbers are from 1 to 11, but you have number 12, which is the edge of the combination square. So you want to set this at 2 inches. Make sure you set it on the right line, which is the longest line on the combination square. Once you set it on that line, you're going to put this on the manufactured side, not the cut side. So we're going to mark this at 2 inches. Then we're going to come down here. Hopefully we got enough of the marker here. Mark this at 2 inches. Now it's hard to see at this point, but you have a little scratch right here. You have one right here and one right here. If you use a marker, the marker is too thick of a line for you to cut correctly. You always have to use this scribe to get it correct. To make sure that you get this right, we're going to reset this to 8 inches, which of course, if you're looking at this backwards, it'll be at the 4-inch mark. We're going to set our combination square on this edge so that the lines line up. And draw a square, a line with your scribe. You could barely see it, but this is for you to be able to guide your cutting or your drilling that you're going to be doing. The next thing that we need to do in this layout is to get our 1.5 inches along the width from that edge and do a crosshair. So we're going to reset this at 1.5 inches, always using your 90-degree side to make sure it fits. We're going to take our scribe and mark a 1.5 inch line from here. And repeat that on the opposite end. Now, when you look at your piece of material, you will have a crosshair right here at the 1.5 inch mark and one at the 1/2 inch mark here. There's only one thing that we need to do to make sure that we don't have this drill dancing around while we're getting ready to drill it. We need to center punch it. These are our working vices. There's 4 actual large vices on these tables for you to work on. There's other vices on the back side of the shop. We will go through that when you finally get into the shop. And also there's one on our anvil. We're going to use the anvil, but I wanted to show you. If you do any center punching on any type of metal, this is designed for that. Using a hammer and a center punch on your piece of metal. Not this. This is part of the mechanism of the vise, and if you try to center punch on this, you're going to ruin my vise. This is the only place you could center punch. All right, so what we're doing here, since that piece of place is too big for this piece of material to center punch, we're going to bring it to the anvil. The anvil is set up, it can be moved around the shop. This is designed for this job. So what I'm going to use, which we didn't have in our tools, I'm going to use a center punch to get me a nice little hole. And what that hole does, that divot, it stops the drill from dancing around. It guides the drill into the place it's supposed to. So what you want to do is make sure that the point of the center drill is right on the crosshairs, and you're just going to hit it once. You don't need to hit it hard, you just need to hit it once. So you're going to do that to both sides. Now this is center punched, ready to drill. So we have this laid out so that you could see the center punch right here and right here. The next operation we're going to cover in a different class is drilling. Right now it's just layout. So the drilling operation is finished. That's just like the cooking shows where they put it in the oven and 2 seconds later they put it out. Here's a hole going through the center of the piece of material, 1.5 inches in on both sides. At this point, this part of the project is done. You have it drilled, you have it laid out and marked. On our project that we looked at on the board, there's other holes that are in here, but they're not laid out yet. So what is going to happen is how many holes you have, you should have everything laid out before you do the drilling process. So as I said, we're only going to do these center holes at this point, and we're going to work from there. The only thing left to do is to make sure that nobody gets cut. You have to grind down or deburr both sides of the drilled hole. If you take a look, the edges are ground down into a small radius. The holes are deburred both on this side and this side. This is now ready to finish up what it needs to be done with the second set of holes that you will do later. So what we did in the instruction as I was talking through it, we got the measurements for our length, our width, we got the dimensions and area or spot that our holes are going to be drilled. We have the definitions of the holes, which we could see that goes here, and we have our tolerance explaining this as a bilateral tolerance. Once this is finished, while we'll use this draw out, we will set up the other holes that are going to be drilled here and lay those out. The next part of the layout project is to get the other two holes here and here. So I only put the dimensions on one of the holes, and what we'll do is we'll draw it out so you can see it. It's 1 inch from the edge, and it could be either edge, but we're using the right edge, and 1 inch down from the corner. So it's 1 inch by 1 inch. We are still holding the same tolerance, which is 1/16 of an inch. And remember what this was? That was the drill through symbol, the diameter symbol, and it's 0.656 and 2/10,000. This is typical again that we're going to do 2 of them. Okay, when we get ready to lay out these other last 2 holes, this is a visual of what it's going to look like. Your center is going to be here in this crosshair. It's going to be 1 inch by 1 inch center. Remember that the holes are always measured from the center out. So again, we're going to set up the combination square just like we did when we were measuring these holes that are the lengthwise. So we're going to set this at a 1 inch mark, bring it around to this side, set this at a 1-inch mark and get our X. Do it on the other side. So that now that we have this set up, we would take our center punch and do the same thing that we did with the layout before. So you will center punch this one and center punch that one. As for layouts for this project for drilling, this completes the layout project. The 2 holes on the end, the 2 holes down the center. The only other thing that will happen to this piece of metal, and we have to talk about it in another class, is that the corners should be all at a 90-degree angle. And that's done by using hand files, and we'll have to do something different when that comes up. Because sometimes I might cut this at a 45-degree angle and keep 2 of them at a 90-degree angle, and one 45 and one 30. This is all getting you ready to be able to lay out your equipment before you start working on it. Always remember to measure twice, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. So your layout is very important before you even start drilling, cutting, or filing. One of the last things that need to be done in my shop is to make sure that the tools are cleaned, wiped down, and put back where you found them. There are areas in my tool room where everything is. Due to the different situation in the shop, I will have a tray that's back here with cleaning equipment. We will clean it up and then put it back on the shelf. All these tools go in my tool room except for the scribe, the 6-inch scale, the markers, and the compass. You will learn where these are when you get into the shop.